Hi, this is Ryan O'Connor here in Weston, West Virginia, and we're going to show you guys how to QC a 6 3/4 EM tool carrier. We'll start by showing you what supplies that you're going to need. You're going to need a tripod. Next, you're going to need your spacer, which goes on top of the tripod. You can see the nipple lines it up. You also need your 6 3/4 buffer.
Should those be cut ever?
They should never ever be cut, ever. And that's why we're gonna do this exercise, so that you can make sure that your tool carriers are spec. If there's something wrong and they're not in spec, you must call your coordinator immediately so that he can get a new tool carrier out to your location. Next, you'll need a tape measure. Pretty much any standard tape measure will do. Next is very wise to have a flashlight. It's not 100% necessary, but it helps a lot. So there you go. These are the tools you need to QC and inspect your tool carrier. We're going to use a 6 3/4 tool carrier for the example today. This will go for all tool carriers, no matter which one you're testing. There's 4 different sizes of EM tool carriers that you'll probably see mostly, and that is a 4 3/4, 6 1/4, 6 3/4, and an 8-inch. All right, so you come up to your tool carrier, and of course, an EM tool carrier is a box. You are going to inspect each side, and if we look on this side, what we're going to see on the outside of the tool carrier, and you might have to roll it, is you're going to see a scribe line. And that's the same place that you're going to see the serial number. So, usually the directional driller straps the tools, and this is where he's going to find the serial number. This is also where the scribe line is located. Once you find the scribe line, we have it obviously high-sided here for ease of viewing. We're going to look inside, and we're going to look for the key of the sleeve. Now, I have my finger on the scribe line, which is stamped on the outside of the tool carrier, and inside we can see where the key is. Now the key has to be very, very close to where this outer scribe is. If it is off by, anything more than say 3 to 5 degrees, then you need to call somebody immediately. The next thing you need to do is you need to put your hand in there. You need to grab the key with your fingers, and you need to get pretty Western with it and wiggle it real good. You want to see if there's any kind of wiggling in the key or any movement at all. If there is, once again, you do not want to run this tool carrier. An EM tool carrier is a box design. And only one side of the tool carrier is going to have the sleeve installed inside it. That side of the tool carrier, which we have identified, has the sleeve in it, and we're going to show you the other side, which doesn't. If you look inside here, you'll notice that there is no sleeve installed in that side. If on location, if you pick this side as your first attempt at trying to view the sleeve, and you don't see it in there, then you must go to the other side. Once you've identified what side the sleeve is in, take a chalk marker or some kind of marking and mark that is the top of the tool carrier, because that's, you're going to have to show the guys on the rig, they're going to have to know what way to point that tool carrier so they can pick it up properly on the catwalk. Next thing we want to do is, no matter what side the tool carrier, top or bottom, it will also have another scribe line stamped on it. So every tool carrier, whether the top or the bottom, this being the bottom because it doesn't have the sleeve in it, will also have a stamp. And the reason why it's stamped on the top and the bottom is to aid you guys when you're doing your OTF on the drill floor. You can use that mark to aid you in verifying your OTF or measuring your OTF on the drill floor. We are over here on the bottom end where you can see there is no sleeve installed. A sleeve will be installed on one side of the tool carrier only. Okay, here we are back at the top of the tool carrier. I haven't marked it here, but I would if I was on the rig. I would take a piece of chalk and I would mark top and I would write an arrow. You know, at very least, you know, wrap some flagging tape around the top. Tell the directional hand which side he needs to pick that thing up. Alright, I'm going to start with this tripod, and what we're going to do here is we're going to slide this in, and we're going to slide all the other jewelry in as well. The reason why we're going to do that is to, number one, verify that all this stuff is going to slide in properly once we get it on the drill floor. That's verifying that there's no burrs or any of the equipment inside the tool carrier. The sleeve is not distorted or something's not broken in there, and then or maybe there's something wrong with this. This wasn't machined to spec or what have you. So that when we get to the drill floor, things go smoothly. We know they're going to go smoothly, and there's absolutely no surprises. So, okay, first things first, we have our tool carrier high-sided. I'm going to take my tripod. I'm going to slide it in. As you can see, this is going in as nicely. And sometimes you might have to clean it out a bit, but it definitely is going in, and I felt it hit the bottom. So what I'm going to do is line it up and make sure it slams. And what that's doing is, when it's slamming, is the bevel in the sleeve is mating up with this flush, and that's where it sits on. That's where the tool hangs on. Slide it in, line it up with that key. Use your handy dandy flashlight, or as some guys use, you just put the light on your hard hat. So there, slam it down, it's seated. And you'll see the key should be sticking up through the keyway in the tripod. Alright, next we're going to grab, some guys call this a spacer. It's actually technically called a tripod ring. And again, we're going to slide this in. I'm kind of just going by feel right now. Have a little look-see. You have to turn it just a bit. There it is. It's locked in. You can, oh no, now it is. And you can feel it with your fingers when it's all flush. And it's very important that this is flushed right up. There, I'll get that light in there. All flushed up real nice. Everything's seating really nice. Another big thing you have to look at is you have to make sure that that keyway in the sleeve is not sticking up through the spacer or the tripod ring. Because if it is, that means that the buffer will not sit flush on the tripod ring. So next I'm going to grab the tripod ring, or sorry, the buffer. And the buffer, there's two sides to a buffer. There's this brass side, and then there's this more of gunmetal side that has these cutouts. And there's an industry standard that we kind of, or not an industry standard, but more of a nickname. We call this ashtray up. You'll hear everybody say ashtray up. So you know that's the side that always has to be pointing towards you. Slide that in. Make sure she's all flushed up. And there you go. You have a tripod ring, or as some people call a spacer. And then you have your buffer. Ashtray up. What we're going to do now is we're going to take our tape measure and we're going to measure from the face of the buffer, ashtray up, to the face of the tool carrier. Alright? So here we can see from the face of the buffer to the face of the tool carrier is 4 1/8. 6 3/4 mm sub. Which has a grid size of 4.5 IF. thread type. It's not just a coincidence that they call it 4.5. The reason why they call it 4.5 is, look, it's actually 4.5 inches. The IF is the way the thread is actually cut. This is called an IF thread. But you always must check your pin first. So what we can see is that it's just a tiny bit over, actually no. It is pretty close to 4.5. It's almost just a tiny bit less. But we're gonna call it 4.5. All right. Once again, always put your thread protectors back. I never want to see any of our directional tools, pins, extension subs, emitter subs, tool carriers, anything without a thread protector. That's your job just as much as it is the directional hand's job to look after these and make sure that these are protected at all times when they're not screwed together. All right, take my buffer out, my spacer out, my tripod. Take them back to the base. I'm also going to make sure I put my thread protector on. Do not lose these. When you're done doing whatever you're done doing, make sure you reapply the thread protector. Every single time, no questions asked. Okay, so with our tripod, spacer, and buffer fully seated, we had a distance from the face of the tool carrier to the face of the buffer of 4 1/8 inches. Now the emitter sub pin from the face of the pin to the end of the pin was 4.5 inches. For ease of use, 4 1/2 inches. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we'll do a little math here to see how much the buffer is going to compress when the pin starts to screw into the box end of the tool carrier. Alright, so what we have to do is we have to take the length of the pin, which is 4 1/2 inches. That's going to screw into the box end, which is 4 1/8 inches. Oops. 1/8 inches. So now with this math here, as the pin screws in, it's going to put compression on the buffer. So we basically take 4 1/2 inches minus 4 1/8 inches. What we're going to get is 3/8 of an inch. And what we have to ask ourselves, is this 3/8 of an inch within our spec? Minimum compression, 1/8 of an inch. Well, it's more than that. And maximum compression is 1/2 inch. Basically, 1/2 inch is equal to 4/8. 3/8 is definitely less than 4/8. So we are perfectly within the minimum and maximum compression value by having a compression on the buffer of 3/8 of an inch. So once again, this 4.5, that's the emitter pin minus the face of TC, face of buffer distance, which equals 3/8, so we're good to go.
4 1/2 minus 4 1/8 equals 3/8 or 0.375.
Very nice, Robert. Very nice.